Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Perron, an instructor here in the Nautical Science Department at Northeast Maritime Institute. If I can ask everybody to put their cell phones on silent. Thank you. I will be your master of ceremonies today. Welcome, family, friends, faculty, staff, and graduates of the 4th commencement program for Northeast Maritime Institute College of Maritime Science. Please rise for the playing of the United States National Anthem. Please be seated. I'm delighted and privileged to be here for the 4th commencement of the Northeast Maritime Institute College of Maritime Science and the graduating class of 2019. Today we celebrate the accomplishments and academic achievements of our 6 graduating students: Ethan Arujo, Nicholas Arujo, Adrian Sear, Tyler Lamazny, Cameron O'Connor, and Joseph Rock. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct privilege to introduce you to our Honorable President, Eric DeWicki, for the welcome address.
Good morning. Good morning. This is a pretty unique group of students that gets to graduate today. And I look at each one of you and look at you as individuals in your own unique way. And I've thought a lot about who you are as people and what it took for you to graduate. And the trust that you put into us to allow the Institute to help you become mariners. And how oftentimes, you all just simply needed a break. I thought about 3 words that I'm going to speak about this morning. And those 3 words are fear, courage, and character. The first thing I thought about when I thought about this group of graduates was about fear and how life may have had its own individual challenges and may continue to have its own challenges, and how sometimes that's a scary thing. Fear is an interesting, almost emotion, because it can truly detract us from our success, and it can truly detract us from our ability to move forward. How many of us have dealt with fear? I think all of us, right? We're all experiencing fear, probably on a daily basis. But it's the ability to get over that fear in those things that inhibit us from moving forward in our own individual successes, in our growth as human beings, that will enable us to achieve what it is we've set out to achieve. Fear gets in the way of goal setting. Fear gets in the way of success. Fear gets in the way of sometimes even failing. I've said this 1,000 times, I'll say it again. The failure or the fear of failure sometimes truly is one of the greatest roadblocks. And what I've told my children and what I tell you as graduates is failure is the one opportunity that you get to learn a true life lesson. So to be afraid of failure, let's push that aside. To be afraid of success, let's push that aside. Today is a moment of success for you. You've overcome a lot of fear. Which one of you was not afraid when you enrolled? Any fearless graduates? Fear is a healthy thing if you can use it to your advantage. It's a great segue to the concept of courage. Which one of you is not courageous? The 6 of you are very courageous, whether you realize it or not. You had the courage to come here and tackle something that was relatively new. Not only the school was new, but it was new to you. I said it earlier today, you have taught us as much as we have taught you. I will tell every graduating class that, because it's true. The challenges that you faced, we have had to face, but it was your courage to step forward and enroll in this school that has put you on an unbelievable path towards both personal and professional growth. Think about that. Which one of you feels like you're not courageous? We all have that question. I'm not so strong. I'm not courageous. But when you truly look at what you accomplished in just 2 years, that's a very small amount of time. In 2 years, you were able to succeed. Go places you were uncomfortable going. Taking on internships that you might not have enjoyed. Guess what? Life's not about enjoyment sometimes. It's about the courage of going after something and learning what you want and what you don't want. Sometimes those challenging moments are the best moments you can have in terms of shaping your future. So to have the courage to go someplace you were not comfortable going is another opportunity for growth. Thus, fear and courage segue into the concept of character. Character. I believe character is shaped by the 3 tenets of success. For those of you that don't know what the 3 tenets of success at NMI are, they are honesty, integrity, and hard work. The students hear about it all the time. The faculty and staff hear about it all the time. It's redundant, maybe even boring or monotonous. But the 3 tenets of success, honesty, knowing who you are, truly, by looking yourself in the mirror and looking deep inside, and just simply being okay with you. Getting honest with yourself, and just simply accepting who you are, and loving yourself. Integrity, having the alignment of saying what you do and doing what you say. And work ethic. Let me ask the six graduates, do you have a better work ethic today than you had when you got here? Is that fair? You had to work hard to get here. You really had to work hard to get to this point of graduation. And in fact, this group, I'll be very transparent, had to work harder than most. Not just academically, but socially, personally, and at some times professionally. And you did achieve. You made amazing achievements. It's pretty cool looking down at the six of you and thinking right now as I'm speaking what you each had to do to develop your character to complete something you started. It's not always easy. It's not exactly the way you think it should be framed. There's a lot of shoulds in life, but shoulds never prove themselves true. I applaud your character, the six of you, for starting something that wasn't easy and finishing it. Joe, truly proud of you. You know why. Cameron, you know why. Tyler, you know why. You know why. Right? And you know why. And you know why. Adrian, Nicholas, and Ethan. It's been fun. It's been fun to watch the six of you grow and achieve. And I just can't wait to watch you beyond today. As Captain Sullivan said, you are part of a family. We are your family. You might not like us sometimes. You might not even love us sometimes. But we love you. And we're proud of you. And we think you're going to be tremendously successful based on the hard work and the compassion and wisdom and care of your instructors, the faculty, the staff. I don't know if you truly understand how much they care about you, that we care about you and love you, but we do. We went to battle for you, and sometimes you might not understand that because it's tedious and it's hard. For you folks in the audience, for you that don't know this, these students took a workload of anywhere from 18 to 23 college credits per semester. This is not an easy program. It's not an easy program. I would say it's tougher than any other nautical science program in the country because of what they have to achieve in such a short period of time. You succeeded in making your mark. I am simply proud of you. And I thank you for putting your trust into the school, and frankly, oftentimes in me when I've had individual conversations with you. The brightest moment of my experience as president of Northeast Maritime Institute today was when one of you told me, "I'm simply afraid." I gave you a hug, and I realized that life's just not the same for everybody. But together, with the network of people that we have around us, we can succeed. And we will achieve. and with our family supporting us, our extended family, our NMI family, you will always succeed in the field. To date, NMI boasts of 100% job placement today. We're going to challenge the 6 of you to make sure you get good jobs. If you struggle with that, you let us know to make sure we make a path for you to get a good job. And you show the other mariners from other places that, frankly, you're better than them because you're the best of the best. You're going to outwork them. You're going to be more honest than they are. You're going to have more integrity. You're going to be ethical decision makers. You're going to be critical thinkers. You're going to do the job better than anybody else. Don't ever forget that. You're about to become NMI graduates. Wear that as proudly as you wear that blue blazer. Wear it proud. Thank you all for being here. I'm excited about these 6. I'm humbled by these 6. And I'm just can't wait to sit down and listen to the great speakers we have coming up and how they're going to attribute their words to these 6 students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Heather Correa, Chief Operating Officer of Northeast Maritime Institute, will now present the Stole of Gratitude.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege for me to be able to impart the story of the Stoles of Gratitude, which NMI has adopted as a way for our students to thank those who have been instrumental in their success during this period of learning at Northeast Maritime Institute's College of Maritime Science. The legend of the Stole of Gratitude. In pre-medieval Europe, a monk traveling the countryside on a missionary pilgrimage found a starving young boy wandering through his burned-out village in a daze, orphaned after the village had been destroyed by a band of marauders. The only thing he carried was a piece of fabric from his mother's clothes that had torn off in his hand as he was taken away by one of the invaders on horseback. Delivering him to the monastery, the monk set about teaching him to read and write. He schooled the boy in literature, history, and scientific thought, and trained him in the skills of debate and negotiation. The boy learned much and grew eager to know more of the world. When he left the monastery, he traveled to the royal city and became squire to a knight, who trained him in horsemanship, swordsmanship, and the subtleties of court society. After several years, and no longer a boy, the young man's talents were brought to the notice of the king, who made him an advisor to the royal court. Contemplating his life's journey one day, he felt that he must acknowledge the support of his mentors. He took some of the fabric from his mother's dress, some of the wool from his monastic robes, and some of the silk tunic he now wore. With this, he fashioned 2 cloth stoles, embroidered with the runic symbol of his village, the crest of the knight he had served, and the emblem of the royal court. He then presented these stoles to the monk and the knight, along with letters proclaiming his gratitude. Eventually, he became a widely respected royal ambassador, but he never forgot the kindness and generosity which had enabled him to achieve his success. It became a tradition that spread throughout the country and beyond. The stole has become a symbol of achievement for students in all faculties, with varying colors and emblems symbolizing different levels of study and institutions. Today, the Stole of Gratitude is worn by a graduating student during the commencement ceremony as a symbol of their academic achievement and presented with honor to those who provided aid and support in reaching their goal. After the ceremony, the new graduate presents the stole to someone who has provided extraordinary help or support, parents, relatives, or mentors who have helped with wisdom, words of support, or even financial assistance. At this time, I would like to ask the graduates to join me on stage to receive their Stole of Gratitude.
Thank you, Heather. Angela DeWicki, Chief Academic Officer of Northeast Maritime Institute, will now present the Laemmle List Awards.
Good morning. Might raise this just a little bit. I am honored to present the Captain Norman W. Laemmle List Awards today. Students who demonstrate superior academic performance are named to the Captain Norman W. Laemmle List at the end of each semester. Students are eligible for the Captain Norman W. Laemmle List Award in any semester during which they successfully complete 15 or more semester hours of credit with grades no lower than C, and who hold a cumulative grade point average of 3.0 or above. This is difficult with the number of credits our students are taking, and must have also completed the required community service hours. A little bit about Norman Laemmle. He served in the U.S. Coast Guard in 2 capacities over a period of 36 years. He served at both Coast Guard headquarters and at the Pentagon during his Coast Guard career. He retired as captain in 1998. As a Coast Guard civilian employee, he rose to the senior executive service, the civilian equivalent of a flag officer. During his 25 years in senior leadership positions, Norman was a driving force in both the development and implementation of nearly every major marine safety, security, and pollution prevention initiative. He served on government delegations to the United Nations International Maritime Organization over a period of 53 years and participated in diplomatic conferences in London that developed the International Maritime Security Treaty. In retirement, we were lucky enough to have Norman Laemmle join us. He continued his tireless efforts to honor the mariner, consulting on maritime safety and security, piracy, environmental protection, and national and international regulations. He served as the Director of Maritime Safety and Security at Northeast Maritime Institute for 15 years. Mr. Laemmle was also co-founder of the Commonwealth of Dominica International Ship Registry and assisted with its growth and development for over 13 years. Throughout his life, Norman Laemmle put his service first to the nation and to his international community. He left a tremendous legacy and will long be remembered for his exceptional service. Today, we are honored to present 3 of our graduates with not only Laemmle List honors for their last semester, but also recognize their achievements by obtaining this honor for all academic semesters of the program. So I'm pleased today to present the awards to Ethan Arujo, Nicholas Arujo, and Adrian Sear. If you would please come up and get your awards.
Thank you, Angela. I would like to introduce the Director of Nautical Science Department, Captain Tom Sullivan, who will address the graduating class of 2019.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As a Director of Nautical Science, I have an interesting job here. We get to kind of craft our curriculum for this entire program to better serve the maritime industry. We can't do that without our graduates. Their internships, their experience is what we bring into every day in the classroom. It's amazing to see how this program has changed in the relatively short time that we've been running it. Each graduating cohort is that much better prepared for the industry than the last. And it's that family kind of ethos that we're taking care of each other no matter what. Our graduates are helping the next cohort. Our graduates are helping the industry. That makes me proud to hold that position every day. As we're going through the semesters, it gets tough to kind of focus and where our drive needs to be. I think back to my mentors, the words that they used, how they carried themselves, and I had a lot of advice in my years. So I had a tall ship captain that once explained to me why nautical science matters, why a degree in applied nautical science is important to society. And I'll use his more eloquent words than I ever could today. To most of us, nautical science holds an insignificant place in traditional education institutions, as well as society at large. It's esoteric, but even the slightest consideration allows anyone to realize that it offers a practical way to understand basic topics like math and physics, that studying navigation and the controlling forces of a ship seem to bring hands-on meaning to the principles of Archimedes, Copernicus, Newton, Kepler, Bernoulli, could go on and on. That most institutions consider those boring. But maybe nautical science provides a connection to our saltwater roots and a maritime past that we all have. If we go beyond the academics of it, there's subtle comparisons between our own lives and nautical science. That for most of us, birth is a departure from a safe harbor. We begin a journey from a safe, known position. And we proceed cautiously at first, developing skills along the way, learning the ropes, so to speak. We gain that experience necessary to make choices on our own with regard to our own course, our own speed, and heading towards our destination. As time goes by, we quickly see that life often takes on the characteristics of a sailing ship on a broad reach, gently rolling along with the prevailing winds. But as we all know, more often than not, it seems like a hard upwind beat with each wave knocking us farther off our chosen course. Occasionally, we're overtaken by squalls, some small, but some so violent that we find our sails blown out and we're wallowing in the trough of mountainous seas. With the passage of each squall, we become more alert and more cautious. Even with those obstacles, we're able to proceed using several means to fix our position. Lines of position like relationships, family, education, and our career. So often that journey is influenced by the change in the winds. And we always have to be ready to alter our course, to change tacks, or even to heave to or set full sail, or even anchor and hold fast for a little while. If more of us were fortunate enough to have experienced life from the perspective of on the high seas on the deck of a ship, maybe then we could develop a certain respect for our place in the world and deal with life's issues in a modest and straightforward way, the same way that we deal with the safe and successful navigation of a ship in the constantly changing world of the sea. Captain Joseph Conrad wrote of our trade that the redeeming and ideal aspect of this breadwinning is the attainment and preservation of the highest possible skill. It's made up of accumulated traditions kept alive by individual pride, rendered exact by professional opinion, and like the higher arts, spurred on and sustained with discriminating praise. That's why the attainment of proficiency, the pushing of skill with attention to the most delicate shades of excellence, is a matter of vital concern. Through the last few years, I've watched our graduates grow into the sailors that are fully aware of that skill set that they need to become proficient in their art, accepting of instruction, and ready to help others climb up the hawse. These are sailors that are ready to make the sea their career, and to me, that makes it feel like we're doing something right. I've been known in challenging times here to remind the faculty and staff of how a landscape can be changed by a glacier. Drastic overall, but barely noticeable day to day. Step back, graduates, and take a look at how you've changed NMI's landscape. You've come a long way. I can only hope that you're as excited for your next voyage as I am, and that NMI will be a much better place for all the effort that you've put into our program. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of that voyage, and I truly hope that our courses will cross again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I am honored to introduce the next speaker, Mr. Everett Newton. Mr. Newton retired as a colonel from the United States Air Force in 2011, following a 28-year career that included leading edge engineering for the F-15E Strike Eagle leadership, and assignment as an Arabic Foreign Area Officer. He has continued his passion for engineering by designing, building, operating, and maintaining autonomous aircraft, terrestrial vehicles, and surface vessel systems with autopilot, data link, and advanced payloads. Mr. Newton joined the Duke University Marine Laboratory team in June 2015, serving as initial cadre for the Marine Robotics and Remote Sensing Lab. He is also a fourth-year Duke University PhD candidate studying marine science and conservation, and in 2017, Mr. Newton was elected the mayor of the town of Beaufort, North Carolina. Beaufort, North Carolina.
Those are fighting words.
I apologize. Mr. Newton, if you would please.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. First of all, I'll go a little bit off script here. When I come to a beautiful facility like this, I'm just blown away. It took vision, it took a plan, and now look how gorgeous this facility is. And the same thing with NMI. It started with a vision, and then you had to build a plan, and then you had to execute the plan, and there are probably some twists and turns along the way, but look how robust, how credible NMI is today, and the products there that are truly work ready to go into the workforce today. And I'll challenge you, each of your students and the graduates, figure out what your vision is, build a plan, reevaluate the plan as you go along, but get there. You can do this. You truly can, and certainly the graduates are representative of that. We share a lot of heritage between Beaufort and here in Fairhaven. The maritime industry in particular, whaling, commercial fishing. And I'll tell you that when I came across the bridge yesterday from New Bedford over to Fairhaven, I looked into the harbor. Again, it's incredible. And there are contrasts because the commercial fishing industry in Carteret County is really struggling right now. And so we've oriented more towards tourism in a lot of cases, and you still have a robust commercial fishing industry that's going on here, and we can certainly learn a lot from you. So we do share a lot of these common interests. Your tidal cycles are much greater than ours. That was clear looking at your docks and other things that you had there as well. As the introduction indicated, I spent a great deal of time in the Air Force, and it may not seem like it, but the Air Force has a lot of ties with the maritime industry, certainly the Coast Guard and the Merchant Marines as well. And a lot of what we do is training, right? Training for contingencies, because you need to kind of think about these scenarios. You need to train to those as well. In the Air Force, as a pilot, did a lot of survival training. So if I were to eject out of my aircraft, I need to know what my procedures are going to be before I get on the ground, and even when I get on the ground, what are my procedures going to be there as well. So again, thinking about contingencies. One of the contingencies we talked about in Air Force training is what happens if you eject and you have a streamer, which means your parachute doesn't inflate. And the core question here, Jacob, I'll ask you this question from Beaufort, is if you eject from an aircraft and you have a streamer instead of a full parachute, how much time do you have to figure it out? And the answer to that is the rest of your life, right? So for the graduates today, we'll think about the rest of your life in terms of decades, but certainly in the maritime industry, not unlike the Air Force, there are some times that you're going to have crises that you're going to have, and you're going to have the rest of your life to figure it out. And you need to train to that. You need to be a critical thinking, as some of your core values talk about. You need to have the knowledge to be able to deal with these things, because you're going to be faced with a lot of these big challenges. So, yes, I'm the mayor of Beaufort, a wily veteran of about 1.5 years now, and 5 of our core challenges in Beaufort, North Carolina, are drug abuse and addiction, infrastructure, degraded water quality, the effects of climate change, and a growing socioeconomic divide. This gap between the haves and the have-nots, where the haves recover much quicker than the have-nots. For instance, just last weekend, we had another hurricane roll through Beaufort. The haves have recovered very nicely. The have-nots are still struggling for Hurricane Florence, which occurred last year. And there's a direct tie to NMI and Hurricane Florence as well. Almost a year to the day, NMI collected supplies, and Mr. Eric Dawicki shows up in my hometown with a whole truckload of supplies and a whole trailer load of supplies that was really timely because it came to Beaufort, but it was distributed throughout Carteret County. So I thank the Fairhaven community. I thank NMI for being there. And this just even solidified the connection between this community and our community back in Beaufort, North Carolina. So you may ask, okay, so these are your 5 challenges as mayor, and I'll actually give you a 6th challenge that we have had to talk about here most recently, only in the last couple of weeks, and that's gun violence. And this is something we've got to talk about and something we've got to fix. So what do these 5 initial problems have to do with you, right? These are all municipal challenges. Well, they're not. They affect all of us. They affect every municipality, every state, and they're national problems. Each one of those 5 core problems are all interconnected. They are all extremely complicated, and they are all unsustainable in their current form. So we've got to be able to chip away at each one of those. And you may say, okay, so what does infrastructure have to do with me as a graduate of NMI? Well, people talk a lot about roads. People talk a lot about bridges. But they don't talk about ports. Part of this infrastructure rebuild has to be our port system because the maritime industry is going to grow at a huge rate. Your timing is immaculate now to be able to get into there to get these jobs, but that port has to be part of the infrastructure, right? How about degraded water quality? You see it here in Fairhaven. You have your challenges. We certainly have our challenges in eastern North Carolina. With more ships, there's going to be some more water quality concerns, so you can be on the leading edge of those things. And this isn't just necessarily about toxins in our waterways. How about noise? Noise that's associated with more shipping. How about being on the leading edge of efficient propellers that will reduce the amount of noise based on the new shipping that's out there, right? How about the socioeconomic divide that we see? What role does NMI and NMI graduates have to do with that? Well, in this case, you're going to have a really good paying job, right? You're going to have a good paying job, and you're going to be able to go back to your communities, and you're going to be able to help other people. And the best advertisement for what you do is when you go back home and you tell other peers about all the cool stuff that is happening here. Effects of climate change. Does that relate to anything that the students and the graduates have? Absolutely. So last Friday night, I spent 4 hours in the wall of a hurricane, and it was vicious. And I had no idea what was going to happen when I went out into the community after the storm. And fortunately, we were lucky. We were lucky. Now, some people in Tyler's neighborhood, and he's from Carteret County as well, were not as fortunate, certainly as the winds came out of the north and out of the channel. How does this relate to what you're going to be doing in the maritime industry with the effects of climate change, with stronger storms, with more frequent storms, with more persistent storms? You're going to be involved in one of those. So again, it gets back to training, it gets back to knowledge, it gets back to skill sets. How are you going to be able to deal with a changing world? And even more importantly, how do we start to cut away at the effects of climate change and reverse that trend? So these are directly related to you and to NMI as well. So I wish you graduates the very best. As you depart, your environment is completely different than the environment that I graduated with. When I graduated, when Captain Tom graduated, there was an expectation that when you graduated, you could go to an industry, Ford Motor Company, IBM, you name it, and you could build a career for the entire time there. Your environment's a little bit different. It's going to be so dynamic that you're going to need to be a lifetime learner. And I know that's kind of a buzzword these days, but it's true. Even a crusty old guy like me, I have had to become a lifetime learner, and that's why the PhD program is so attractive to me. And it's going to change really quickly. So you think about autonomous vehicles. This is space age stuff, right? The autonomous vehicle. It's going to be 5 or 10 years away from now. No, it is here today. You have autonomous vehicles in Austin, Texas. You have autonomous vehicles in Pittsburgh. You have autonomous vehicles in Silicon Valley right now. And I'll tell you, the dynamic for an autonomous vehicle is extraordinarily more difficult than for an autonomous boat, right? So you are going to see in your time frame the evolution of autonomous boats. You will. And so be ready for that. Be flexible. Don't be so rigid that you can't adapt to these things, because when you adapt, you're going to develop these skill sets, and you're going to be on the leading edge. And, oh, by the way, leading edge means more money, right? Which in most cases is very attractive to people. But anyway, please, congratulations to the graduates. I'm just so proud to be here, and so proud of the fact that you have powered through this and you're on your way to a brand new journey. Safe travels. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newton from Beaufort, North Carolina. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get right to why we're gathered here today, to celebrate the achievements, the hard work, and the dedication of our graduates. We will now begin the most important part of the graduation ceremony with conferring of the degrees. Ethan James Arujo, cum laude. Nicholas Helder Arujo. Adrian Dean Sear. Tyler Pierce Lamazny. Cameron Michael O'Connor. And Joseph Tyler Rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has become a tradition at Northeast Maritime Institute to deliver. This one's going to be tough for me. This is an emotional one. To deliver an honorary associate degree, associate in arts, in educational service degree, to a community member, and I mean the overall maritime community, and in this case our local community, to a person who has really come to the Institute to help, to guide, to support. One of my favorite concepts in how America might work best is the concept of it takes a village. I would have fit right in with you six, by the way. I would have stumbled. I have stumbled. I would have tripped up a little bit. Some of you didn't trip up academically, but I think I would have fit in with you guys. I really do. And in my life, what many of you don't know is I screwed up my summer reading in high school and didn't get to walk across the stage because I was in boot camp the year before and didn't get my summer reading done. So, in fact, I had to go to summer school for English that next summer. Best thing that ever happened to me, but boy, it didn't feel good at the time. As many of you know, at Arkansas State University, I tripped up. Wasn't so successful. So when I had to actually kind of rethink my direction in life, there were certain people that I came back to say, hey, I need help. I need a boot in the rear end. I need a hug. I need a pat on the head. So I came back to my village of Fairhaven. This recipient has guided many. I've had the privilege of working with this recipient as a sophomore in his sophomore English class, as a junior and senior in his journalism class, and as a football player on the field where he would grab me by the face mask and tell me, hey, buck up, get it going. And when I hit the skids, I came home and I reached out to this fella because I needed him. I knew my village was right with him in it. I reached out to this fella because I needed somebody that could provide some adult supervision at NMI because I was too young and too naive when I first got here. And adult supervision means somebody to hold all the people that worked at NMI accountable. But here's a secret. Shh. Here's the secret. I needed some adult supervision. So I reached out to this gentleman, and he provided that for me. When any student has had a little hiccup or a struggle in their endeavor at the College of Maritime Science, guess who you got to go speak to? The mayor of this village. Okay. With that, by authority of the Board of Trustees and on the recommendation of faculty, I hereby confer upon David J. Medeiros the degree of Associate in Arts in Education Service recognizing outstanding service and personal assistance that leads to the success of individuals in higher education at Northeast Maritime Institute's College of Maritime Science in the great place of Fairhaven, Massachusetts, the United States, September 14th, 2019. By the chairman and myself, we hereby confer this degree.
I know. You're the best. Thank you. I won't say Beaufort wrong. So, it's funny because yesterday we were talking and I told him the first time I went to Beaufort, I went down with the Fritha, with Eric, which was an eventful trip, let me tell you. But when I got there, I called the town Beaufort. And just for your edification, Rachel, I was told that in Beaufort, you could be shot for saying Beaufort. So just be careful. But I thank you all very much. Thank you, whatever. You guys, what's really funny is I taught one class in the classroom class at NMI, and it was you guys. And basically, you guys carried me because I was teaching sail, and my sailing experience was somewhat limited, but we got through all that, and it was fun, and I learned a lot from you. And my time at NMI, from being a student, that's where I got my license, to where I am now, has been joyous. Love the people I work with, all of you folks. You folks, you've kept me young. Thank you.
In closing, my fellow mariners, I had a next-door neighbor named Mike Civic who became truly instrumental in my life, in my family's life, in my children's life. Mike was this big, hulking Polish guy that loved the fact that I was Polish and raising a couple of or three Polish kids across the street, and he just took great pride in his heritage. And Mike was possibly one of the kindest souls I've ever met in my life, and very instrumental in Morgan's life, in coaching him as a surrogate grandfather, and always being great to Morgan and his two sisters. But Mike always had these great words. And when Mike passed away, we went into his house, and his son said, "Take anything you want to remember my father about." And we grabbed a little sign that hangs next to our door at our house at West Island. And as we walk out every day, we see this sign. And the sign says, "Dream big, work hard, and be kind." Think about that. Rocket science ain't rocket science. You can do anything you want to achieve. Think about it. Dream big. Work hard. We talk about that all the time. If you can outwork anybody, and all it takes is effort, I don't care how painful it is, if you can outwork the next person, you'll always have a job. You'll always be able to put food on your table. If work ethic and hard work is not resonating with you yet, please make sure it does. And I think you guys get it, especially you graduates. But be kind. Those moments that don't feel so kind in life, oftentimes they're not intended. Oftentimes they're perceived when you're not feeling like the world is so kind to you. It is up to us to have that personal responsibility to shift that energy. If we truly want a kind and loving world, it must start with us. You heard Mayor Newton talk about the 5, now 6 struggles that his community is dealing with. All 6 of those issues could be dealt with one simple starting point, starting with kindness. And when you look around at each other. Look around at each other. Look, turn your heads. Think about the kindness that's in this room today, and the love and the compassion and the will to help others. Dream big, work hard, and be kind. Graduates of 2019, I am truly proud of each and every one of you. I really am. I know what went into this for you. I think, no offense to you other folks that are going to graduate in the future, try and achieve the way these guys achieved. Model their effort to get over the struggles that they might have gotten over individually. Talk to these guys. They're cool people. All right? Okay, semper redere, to always give back. Make sure you go out into this community and succeed, not for yourselves, not for individual glory, but with the idea that you're going to make society a little bit better by your efforts and your kindness. Dream big, work hard, and be kind. Congratulations, graduates.